YouTubers out there, this is the Boob Wasteland Show with your host, Jerry Saravia. And today I'm briefly going to talk about a reality TV show, Undercover Boss. Now, I'd seen the premiere episode, I guess now it's about 2 years ago, that dealt with a waste management company. And what this show is basically the CEO of a said company, or the president, or what have you, wants to find out about how the workforce is doing in this company. The menial jobs, the associates, whatever the company is, so whether it's a pretzel factory, waste management company, or as an episode that I saw this evening, Kendall, which is, oh my God, Kendall Jackson, the wine company. Whatever it is, it's to find out how the workforce is doing, how the employees are doing, their complaints or issues that they may have with their manager or a set location, a store, a truck drivers, whatever the case may be. So they basically go undercover and pretend they use an alias, and they change their appearance a little bit, and they pretend to be training for a job. Now, what's interesting is that, in particular with, say, the waste management company, or for the episode I saw today, Kendall Jackson company, the CEO in that case went out to the vineyards and was counting all the different seeds and everything else. And then there would be another job where he would be training to see what it's like to be a truck driver, and another one where he's packaging the wine bottles, and so on and so forth. So these employees have no idea that this person is either the CEO or the president of the company. And then, since they don't know that, there are cameras everywhere, so they assume, as they're told, that this is a documentary about work ethic or different companies, how they treat employees, or anything of that nature. That's what they're told, so they don't know. And then at the end of the episode, this CEO or president has all these employees that we just saw in the last hour come together, and they meet him, and he then says who he really is, that he's not actually a trainee of any kind. And he tells them, he communicates to them, and he says, well, you did your job so well because you told your personal story about what you're going through, whether you're raising 3 kids, you have cancer, you know someone that had cancer, you're not getting your 401k, for example, like Kendall Jackson apparently had frozen the 401k because it cost him $1 million a year or something of that nature, a lot of money. And because of one employee, for example, who was doing the wine tasting in this particular episode, and she described how she's raising 3 kids and is working part-time, 37 to 38 hours a week, even though it sounds like it's almost a full-time job. But she doesn't get the benefits, and there's no 401k. So this CEO comes up to her and says, okay, listen, you're not getting the 401k, but because of you, we're reinstalling the 401k. We're putting it back into the program for the employees. You're raising 3 kids, now we're going to give you a full-time job and you'll have all the benefits. Now, in this particular episode of the Kendall Jackson, there's one employee named Renee, who is a truck driver. And he communicates to this trainee. Again, he doesn't know that he's the CEO of the company. And he says, the customers are just terrible, and it's a lot of bullshit that he has to put up with, and blah blah blah. The CEO, when you hear the narration, and then they always shoot a shot of him somewhere else talking about this situation, is really dismayed by the language, the rough language of this truck driver. And that is like one moment in this show that seemed to me very genuine, because I believe that this guy really is pissed off. He does the job the best he can, and he says it's not about Team Kendall Jackson, it's Team Renee. And of course, when he confronts him at the end, the CEO tells him, you're not going to be a truck driver anymore, you're going to be working in the office. I thought he was going to fire him, but technically I don't know if it's a demotion technically, but he ain't going to be driving a truck anymore. Now, this show, again, I've only seen 3 episodes, I think, total. The other one was the Philly Pretzel Factory a while ago. That was also the CEO who, wanted to see what was going on. The problem with this show, I think, is that it gives us a false sense of relating to the CEOs. Because the CEOs or the presidents of the company, whoever it is that is in charge of the company, essentially, we see them at the beginning that they have a family life. Like in the case of the Kendall Jackson, this guy has a wife who's suffering from Parkinson's. He has 3 children. He talks about how his father had so many DUIs and he never had a father figure, but the actual president of the company, or the one that founded the company, way back when, treated him more like was more like a father figure to him than his own father. And it does all that. And so that's a way of trying for us, the viewer, to relate to this guy and say, in the end, if he could find some employees that share those values, then he will give them a prize. So for example, one guy that had started at Kendall Jackson 20 years earlier and works in the packaging plant, also has some kids and a wife, and he then says, well, you were like brothers and all this, and then gives him $10,000 so he can go on vacation, and $10,000 for this and $5,000 for that. You get the picture. The problem with this show is that that's not reality. That's reality for this show. And like someone else pointed out, Undercover Boss almost serves as a 40-minute, because of the commercials, 40-minute infomercial for the company. So in the case of Kendall Jackson, I almost felt like I would like to get a bottle of some of this wine and try it out. And that's not really what the show should be. It's almost like a commercialized view of the company. It's endorsing the company, and it's saying these employees are not being treated right. We're going to correct all these things because this guy is going to go undercover, and hopefully we'll find selectively, I might add, certain employees that fit this profile. One, of course, stands out from the others because he is his own person. That's Renee, the truck driver, who was the one that I liked the most in this show because that was reality. I work in retail, and I've worked in retail for a long time, and I can tell you that the reality is you can be as nice to customers as you choose to be, and you should be, with whatever company you work for. But in the end, you're never going to come across a CEO who actually will talk to you and be at your level. Because the CEOs, of course, who work training in these different types of jobs within their own company to find out about what it's like to be somebody that actually works with their hands, they're tired and exhausted, and they get to go back to a motel room and complain to the wife or call whoever. And I said to myself, this is just not reality. I mean, it's an entertaining show, but it's really just not a useful show for the reality. The reality of retail is if you have a camera, a hidden camera, and you go into a retail establishment, and you shouldn't even be a CEO or president of the company, just somebody who's actually a new hire, and find out what it's really like in the working place. And these are all retail establishments, whether it's White Castle, the Philly Pretzel Factory, Kendall Jackson, because you're dealing with customers, right? It's a retail. And you want to sell you the product. So the show serves as an endorsement of a product, in addition to an endorsement of the CEO, because he gives all these gifts, which are given selectively to certain employees, not the whole entire company. The best thing, of course, that worked out for Kendall Jackson is that he reinstituted the 401k. That's fine. But in the end, this show is a bit false. It gives you a false sense of hope, I think, is really what I'm looking for. The words I was looking for. It doesn't really tell you the full reality of what it's like to be in retail. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's not a bad show. It's entertaining, but the formula is always the same. And in the end, the CEO is seen as the hero or the president of the company, because they go out and help certain employees only. And the reality is that unless it is a show, I don't think too many CEOs do this or would ever even consider doing such a thing. I mean, I could be wrong, but because it's a show, it gives you a false sense of hope. I mean, it's good for the employees. Most of them seem genuine, so I don't think any of that is fake, but I sense there might be a little bit of staging. A lot of these reality shows are staged to some degree. Some are, believe it or not, even written, so it makes you wonder, like The Hills, for example. From what I understood, although I can't give you a specific source, was a written show, and we were led to believe this was a reality show. Because a reality show should capture things, off the cuff and spontaneous behavior. Renee in this show seemed genuine to me. The other ones, I mean, they weren't less genuine, but there seemed to be some staging involved with the final conclusion, which is when the CEO meets all these employees. That seemed a little bit staged to me. But it's not a bad show. I mean, you learn about what it's like in retail workplace to some degree, but I don't think that we should be siding with the CEO of the company. Not to say some CEOs wouldn't want to do such a thing, maybe, to find out, but the purpose of their job has little to do with the workforce in terms of learning how they work for you to keep your company afloat, but rather what you can do to meet their demands to keep them working. But that's a whole different show, and of course that probably wouldn't be a ratings hit, so oh well. I'm not, I just have a problem with the way this show is being perceives itself, or is being perceived, because it's not the reality that a lot of us have who work in retail, believe me. So anyway, that's what I think of Undercover Boss. And Kendall Jackson Vineyard Estates, by the way, is a vineyard and winery under the Kendall Jackson brand, located in Santa Rosa, California, in the Sonoma Valley wine country. So yeah. I don't know what else to say about this show. It seems fake, but it just gives a false sense of hope, I think. More to that than fake. That's all I gotta say. And this is Jerry Sadavia, the host for Boob Wasteland Show, signing off.